And just like that, we turn bullish, XRP and the broader crypto market, as the odds of the Clarity Act passing start to move up, as apparently we got a deal that's done. We run it by the Democrats and we see if this bill's ready to get signed into law, and we await for the actual vote for the Clarity Act on the Senate floor. But in the meantime, the market likes this deal that's being talked about. This is breaking news as of last night, so let's get you caught up to speed. We'll be back live tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. Just as a reminder, you can subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss it. But come on back every Tuesday, Thursday. We run it up live at 10 p.m. Eastern. Can't wait to see you there tonight. Let's go. Emily Wilkins reported last night, along with Eleanor Terrett, a couple other sources in D.C. confirming the same story. From Senator Moreno, he says the president has agreed to the most aggressive ethics language in the history of the United States. It's up to Democrats whether they want to accept yes for an answer, he added. So we have Democrats and Republicans meeting today to see what this ethics language looks like. But it looks like this plays well into our favor for getting this passed, if true. If President Trump agreed to the strongest, or in this case, most aggressive ethics language in the history of the country for all politicians, DR, how can you not support it? How can you not support the bill? Right? We want a level playing field. We want to look at everybody. We want everybody to be ethical, no matter where you come from, no matter what state you represent, whether you got a D or an R. Are you selling out the American people? That's the question we ask. And now, how do they not support it? If this is the strongest ethics language ever, the most aggressive, how can they not support it? So on this news, the whole market just pivoted bullish. Okay? And so let's take a look real quick here at the charts. XRP pushing up towards $1.15. Is this fireworks? Is this the moon? Is this XRP to $100 by the end of the month? Settle down. Settle down. And even you can see here that I'm not trying to get too crazy yet. I'm not trying to clickbait the FOMO, the hopium yet. But this market turned bullish. And I just wanted to point out how quickly this changes, where all of the masses are still expecting lower. And then all of a sudden, Clarity Act's going to get done. We're off to the races. And you get left behind. And I'm worried that some of my buy orders are going to get left behind too. I don't know. We'll see. You guys let me know. Is this for real? XRP back up to $1.15. Bitcoin pushing up towards 67,000. I mean, we got real juice in this market right now. Bitcoin, XRP. Looks like Canton's not really doing much right now. DTCC needs to take it to full institutional scale. It looks like HBAR catching a little bit of a bid. But I mean, really, goodness. This looks to be Bitcoin and XRP mostly waking up here. Now, like I said, are we going to get crazy here? We're not going to get crazy here. I'm going to get you straight on into real adoption. And we're also going to be talking about Ripple Prime, the fact that they still haven't migrated over to the XRP ledger yet. This is all just retail starting to wake up again and say, oh, crap, I better start moving back into crypto here. Jamie Dimon just said now's the time not to buy stocks. I'm paraphrasing. Well, if it's not time to buy stocks, what do we buy? To me, because there's a compelling case right here to look at digital assets again. I know it's been beat up. We've been down for a year. But look how quickly we turn bullish here. Real institutional adoption taking place here on the XRP ledger. This is with VS1 article in Forbes, Georgia. Highlights our technical engagement with the XRP Ledger Foundation to build compliant credit protocols, as well as our work establishing the first central bank supervised tokenized securities framework in the region. That's VS1 with Ripple and the XRP Ledger Foundation. Issuing and distributing a bond on-chain is only the first step. The larger opportunity is what happens afterwards. Institutions gain the ability to borrow against tokenized assets they hold, and those assets reach a broader pool of investors through open, programmable distribution channels. Lending is the primitive that unlocks both. And we're about to have the lending protocol live on the XRP ledger. Can't wait for that one. Axelar. A lot of people wrote this one off, but now we see that they're still building. They're still cooking over here. XRP Ledger and XRP Ledger EVM sidechain are now live on the Axelar app. So Axelar is a project I am not in. I'm not invested in Axelar anymore, but I've been watching this. I've been watching it closely. I've actually been in contact with their team. I've been waiting to see what they cook up, and I would be happy to get their main team. Common Prefix is the team that took it over. I'd like to get them on the show here soon. We wanted to see what they were cooking, and I like this. Not much use of the EVM sidechain so far, but this integration with the Axelar app, this might open it up for some more people. Excited to see the developments. But I wanted to bring you to this right here. Mike Higgins, who basically runs Ripple Prime. This is the Prime brokerage that Ripple bought, right? He says they're proud to share that Ripple Prime has been shortlisted for several Prime Broker of the Year recognitions at the Hedge Week US Awards 2026, including Client Service, Specialist Markets, Startup and Emerging Managers, and Technology. Now, this came out, and along with it, another article where they were highlighting Ripple Prime. And specifically, what they're setting up here, Ripple, with their Prime brokerage, they're creating Wall Street 2.0. And I want to break down the opportunity gap, because just like Brad Garlinghouse said, he said that they settled and cleared $16 trillion last year. Almost none of it was on blockchain. We pointed that out as one of the most important statements that the XRP community could take in and comprehend in the past few years, because it tells us, hey, we're at zero, we're going to 16 trillion. That's the opportunity. We haven't brought it on chain yet. Do we have plans to abandon XRP? We're going to go put this on Ethereum? No, we just haven't moved it to the XRP ledger yet. Now, the reason why out of the 16 trillion, 3 trillion of that was Hidden Road, which is now Ripple Prime, the Prime brokerage, cleared 3 trillion last year. That's part of the 16 trillion that hasn't made it to blockchain yet. But here is what Ripple Prime does. And here we're going to provide you guys why they are ultimately going to move this to the XRP ledger. And hopefully you can then see why we're so excited about, these flows of liquidity. Although it's frustrating that it hasn't come to the XRP ledger yet, it's on the way. And so that's something to take note of and to get excited about, okay? Let's run through it. So here's the deal. This was in October of last year. So really, as we'd gone into the bear market, things are moving back down. But this bear market has not stopped Ripple at all. And so they completed the acquisition in October for $1.25 billion for Hidden Road. Now, at the time, the company was already settling $3 trillion. And for those of you guys who don't know what a prime broker is, it's the back-end infrastructure for big institutions to trade, right? So they're going to trade, borrow, clear, settle across every asset class, including FX, derivatives, fixed income, digital assets, all of it. And Hidden Road was already clearing $3 trillion with over 300 institutions before Ripple even touched it. That's why Ripple was willing to pay $1 billion. Once the deal closed, this is when Ripple took over and started to grow it. And the reports that we now get, the headline number, is that revenue has now tripled year over year. Now, I think that's different from the $3 trillion that they cleared, right? The revenue, the money that they make, though, that has tripled since Ripple took over. And this is before they've even moved some of that those flows to the XRP ledger, which there might be some more efficiencies and some more margin that can, pad the profit for Ripple Prime once they move the settlement to the XRP ledger. That gets interesting. Now, at the time, Hidden Road had a problem, which was that they couldn't scale. There's an insatiable demand for their prime brokerage clearing and financing, but they needed more firepower to lend against it. Here's where Neuberger Specialty Finance comes in. Now, fun fact, Neuberger Specialty Finance is part of the bigger Neuberger Berman firm. For those of you guys who don't know who that is, this is the same firm that now had actually, they hired Steve Eisman, who is one of the main characters of the movie The Big Short. Steve Eisman, and I recommend you guys listen to his podcast. I've been subscribed to his podcast now and been loving the content that he's been putting out. But he is the person that was played by Steve Carell in The Big Short. They named him Mark Baum, but the guy's real name is Steve Eisman. Go subscribe to his podcast. Puts out great stuff. And I just find this, it's an interesting fun fact, is that part of the firm that he works for is now providing this financing credit facility to Ripple Prime. Interesting fun fact connection. Shout out to Steve Eisman. So Ripple closed a $200 million debt facility with Neuberger Specialty Finance, specifically to expand Ripple Prime's lending and margin capacity. That's on top of roughly $500 million in direct capital injections from Ripple into this business, according to Kroll's own ratings reports. This is Ripple actively weaponizing its balance sheet to build out real financial infrastructure. Not a token, not a narrative, actual institutional plumbing. Now, RLUSD is set up here to be collateral in this flow. That's coming. And that's going to be on the XRP ledger, right? And we also saw in May, Ripple Prime integrated with EDX markets for spot and perpetual futures liquidity. Back in February, they added Hyperliquid, giving institutional clients access to on-chain decentralized derivatives liquidity while still being able to support cross-margin against every other asset class Ripple Prime supports. So you've got XRP Ledger being used for settlement, RLUSD being used for collateral, and a prime broker acting as a connective tissue between DeFi venues like Hyperliquid and traditional institutional finance, hence the term Wall Street 2.0. You want to trade a security not tokenized? You want to trade a security that is tokenized? You want to trade it in a DeFi environment? You want to trade it in a traditional environment? We can do both. You want to put up RLUSD as collateral? Got you covered. And every other asset that support there in Ripple Prime. So you can start to see here the advantage that Ripple Prime, this new Wall Street 2.0 brokerage platform, the advantage that they have versus the incumbents that are still trying to play around in their sandbox, piloting and testing crypto. Now, why does this matter for us? People say right now, the biggest complaint, the biggest FUD, the biggest negative comment that I see repeatedly right now during this bear market has been XRP is not being used. Ripple is only using XRP to bankroll their acquisitions in their company. That would be true if XRP wasn't being included in every single one of these adoptions, every single one of these partnerships, every single one of these acquisitions. It's all to bring it back to the XRP ledger. And they've told us this, and we can't expect them to move 3 trillion of yearly flows, billions of dollars of collateral and what have you. We can't just move that all to XRP ledger today because that's what we want to do, right? But they're making these acquisitions, G Treasury settling 13 trillion, none of it on crypto yet. They acquire Hidden Road, settling up 3 trillion per year, none of it on blockchain yet. And that's the whole opportunity gap, right? We're looking at a market right now that doesn't even understand the XRP DeFi that I broke down in yesterday's video. If you missed that, you need to go watch yesterday's video. You combine the XRP DeFi in our ecosystem with the institutional adoption, the acquisitions that Ripple has made where they're tying it all back into that XRP ledger plumbing on the back end. It just doesn't happen overnight, which is our opportunity. Before the masses realize that we're back in a bull run and juice these markets back up, you buy these cryptos. You buy these cryptos before the masses realize that, oh, wow, XRP is not just a banker's coin that you solve a riddle and speculate on. It's a coin that you can lend and borrow against. You can earn passive income or yield on. You can put your XRP to work. You can use your RLUSD as collateral for these different venues and trading and liquidity pools. This DeFi ecosystem is going to be used by retail and institutions alike. And so whether it's the institutions and Ripple bringing trillions on chain, or whether it's the tens of millions of people that will be coming to the XRP ledger for this utility, you can start to see what's building up right here. The opportunity is the fact that it hasn't moved to the XRP ledger yet. That is not the negative. That is not why you should sell your XRP. That is why you should maybe take another look. I'm not going to tell you to buy or sell. I don't give financial advice. I'm just showing you what I'm looking at and the reason why I'm still buying more and the reason why I think this market's pivoting and getting very bullish quickly is because people see what's happening. Clarity Act provides rules of the road for institutions to take this to scale. And there's institutions like Ripple that are going to lead the pack, that are going to set up Wall Street 2.0. And this is why we remain bullish. And I think the rest of the market's starting to catch up to speed and starting to see what we're seeing. And that is the opportunity. That is the advantage. That's why we're going to get rich here. That's why we're going to make a lot of money in this next bull run. It's because we're buying these assets when they're not popular, when they're not sexy, when they're not actually settling up the rails. That's all coming. You don't got much longer. Ripple's working on moving it right now. The DTCC is working on moving it over right now. Swift and every other institution in the world is moving it over right now. So you better hit it while you can, okay? Now, if you guys are looking for a platform for free institutional grade custody, our sponsor, iTrust Capital, does have you guys covered. Right now, they're running a special for a $100 funding bonus. If you just hit the link below in the description of this video and you're a new client signing up with them, you get your account funded, you'll get that $100 funding bonus. But it's free institutional grade custody across the board. So no hassling with, seed phrases and cold storage. No hassling with centralized exchanges that are going to rip you off with fees and not provide you any bankruptcy remote protection or any of that nonsense. This is the white glove institutional service that typically has been reserved for institutions exclusively. Now it's available for retail. Now it's available for you. And this is why I've partnered up with iTrust Capital. Whether you're looking for your retirement funds in the IRA, you can roll over an existing 401k, by the way, or whether you're looking for the institutional custody account or the treasury account, they got us covered. So hit them up down below. That's my sponsor. Really appreciate them for sponsoring the show and taking such good care of our community. Find out why we love them so much for yourself, linked up down below. We'll be back live tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. On the way out, if you appreciate this content and our updates, you know what to do. Tap it and smack it for me. We'll see you tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. God bless.